If you've been enjoying our podcast as much as we have and hope that we continue past 50 episodes, here's your chance. Here's your chance to help make that happen. By becoming a Patreon subscriber, not only will you help the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary podcast to live on, but you'll also get exclusive content just for you.
Here's what's in store for you. Join monthly Q&A sessions where you can ask us about anything. Whether it's about our work, personal interests, or advice on your own projects, we're here to connect and share.
Enjoy unique content created specifically for Patreon subscribers, including bonus segments from our shows.
You'll have a say in what we create, and you'll have a voice in future content.
Benefit from exclusive discounts on merchandise and entries into special giveaways. It's our way of saying thank you for your support.
Receive personalized shout-outs in videos, podcasts, or social media posts.
Because your support on Patreon allows us to dedicate more resources to creating the content that you love.
You could join the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast community on Patreon and become a Prairie patron for just $5 a month. We thank you so much for your continued support, and we cannot wait to share our ongoing journey with you on Patreon. We are extremely grateful for the support of visitsimiValley.com and the city of Simi Valley's belief in Little House on the Prairie and their support of the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
Discover the charm of Simi Valley, California, the home of the prairie. Visit Simi Valley, where adventure meets history and the spirit of the prairie comes alive. Explore the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library, step aboard Air Force One, enjoy stunning hikes, and savor delicious local cuisine. Whether you're here for a weekend getaway or a family vacation, Simi Valley offers something for everyone and is only 30 minutes from Los Angeles. Plan your visit today and experience the best of Simi Valley. Go to visitsimiValley.com for more details. Your adventure awaits in Simi Valley.
Oh, hello, Bonnetheads. You're back. We thank you for joining us once more. I'm Pamela Bob, creator of Living on a Prairie. Check me out. And I am here, as always. You know them. Our beloved prairie bitch, Allison Arngrim, and our hashtag imaginary boyfriend, Dean Butler. Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone. Hi, Pamela.
Hi. Dean, I can't wait to hear. I know you were in Northern California. Mm-hmm. You were at your sister's birthday, but you were also at your high school reunion.
Yes, I was at my 50th high school reunion. And, I actually I got a little love for all this time that these things that I've been doing, particularly the book, which was on display in the home where the event was taking place, on the mantelpiece next to a video that was running of our greatest hits as a class from 50 years ago. So,
really?
Congratulations on the 50th reunion of Piedmont High School's class of 74. We had a great time.
And you did tell me that, first of all, I told you that was going to happen.
You
that
did.
There was going to be a lot of love for you.
I was downplaying the possibility of it.
Of course you were, because, set the bar low in case there's, disappointment. But I knew there wouldn't be disappointment. You finally reached your cool peak.
I did, right.
It only took 50 years.
It only took 50 years, yeah.
Allison, how are you? What's going on, lady?
I am good. It's hot. It's hot.
It's hot.
So hot. It's like this month is borderline having the month off because I'm actually not out every single weekend performing or doing something or signing autographs. I'm actually
the first time all year
going to normal things, and it's Bob's birthday. Today while we're taping is in fact Bob's birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Bob.
Get the wig.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Get the Wig Bob.
Get the wig Bob. It's the day. And it's cool. His brother, sister-in-law, sister are flying in, one of the nephews, and it's a thing, and we're going to dinner tonight. And
nice.
We're going to eat our way across Los Angeles, basically, for
the best.
dinners.
You're a
fabulous
lady after my own heart.
That's great. That's great.
Also, yeah, we're up on Patreon, folks. Come and join us. It's a lot of fun. We've got some fun extras for you. So
yeah, we've blown past 200. We have over 200 members on our Patreon now, which I'm very excited about. Thank you, you patrons. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, patrons, you prairie peeps.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's do this thing. Today, it's a very exciting day. We have a singularly important guest, one of the most beloved and beautiful, shall I say, original members of the Little House cast. All right, guys?
Yeah, no, we've been waiting for this. We are at show 30. Now, this is episode number 30 today.
Is it 30?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
And it is so time that we have this special guest, so beloved, so special in the Little House family.
Yep. Okay, from the studios of UB & Go in Burbank, California, me in New York, this is Little House 50th Anniversary Podcast. All right, the music is getting us ready for our guest. Let's get right to it, right?
Yes.
All right. She is an accomplished American actress born on February 25th, 1942 in Berkeley, California. She developed a passion for acting at a young age, eventually pursuing formal training at the University of California, Berkeley, and the prestigious London Academy of Music and Dramatic Art. Beginning with the Little House pilot, her performances on Little House captured the hearts of millions, embodying strength, warmth, and resilience. Beyond her work on Little House, she has enjoyed a varied career in theater, film, and television, earning a reputation as a versatile and dedicated performer. Her contributions to Little House continue to be celebrated worldwide, and she is beloved as one of the most iconic TV moms in television history. Please welcome Sweet Caroline. Here she is, Karen Grassley. Hi, Karen. Yay!
So glad to have you here, Karen. This is so long overdue, and you look beautiful as always, and your background is spectacular from up there on the bluffs overlooking the Golden Gate Bridge.
Well, my office is a mess, so I had to put in this big background. And that's kind of a nice one, isn't it?
It is spectacular. Yes. You being the Bay Area girl that you are.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
And you.
Yes, that's true. I mean, yes, love that view.
It's the most beautiful city ever. Okay, I want to start, Karen, with going back to that last day, that Sunday at the Simi Valley 50th Anniversary Festival, when the crowd was going crazy and you came on the stage and there was such a joyous response, and that obviously included a rousing chorus of Neil Diamond's classic Sweet Caroline. And I know for me it was entirely overwhelming. And I could feel the love, like a wall of love coming at you. I just want to know, how did that feel to you? What did you think about all of that?
Well, that gave me an idea of what it must be like to be a rock star,
Yeah.
I mean, it was so tremendous, just tremendous. And this is the thing that has really touched me during this time since I brought out the book and we approached the 50th anniversary, was I didn't know how this character had imprinted herself really on people's hearts. But I know now, and it is so gratifying. I am so grateful to people for letting me know that.
It's surprising to me, Alison, I don't know how you react to that, what Karen just said. It's so surprising to me that after 50 years and all of the love that has surrounded this, that Karen, that you wouldn't know coming into an event like this, how adored you are by millions of people.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
They really do love
I was raised not to have compliments. So this whole praise thing is like really uncomfortable for me. I mean, I love it.
I get it.
But it's awkward. And I right away want to say, but Dean, what about your book? Congratulations. I read it over the weekend.
Oh.
And I want to say to everyone, you know, if you don't have it, get it. It is really Dean. It is Dean. It's very authentic. And I congratulate you.
That's very sweet of you, Karen. Thank you very much. And we're going to talk more about your book as we move through the hour. But I appreciate it. I know we can both speak, and Allison sitting here too. The journey that it takes to get something from an idea, onto the page and then into a bookstore it's quite a journey to do that. And it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
You know, on the few times that I went out after I left the show to meet fans. Of course, I felt there how much they adore the show, but I did not understand about Caroline. Mm-hmm. And that really has been incredible. You know, the other day, I took some recycling stuff over to our recycling center, which, by the way, we're very proud of in my town here. It's very advanced. And I said, I've got this. And the woman said, are you Karen? I was like, yes. And there was my old sweats and everything. And she said, oh, I just love you. Well, this is what I get now. My mother would be embarrassed. Because compliments and direct love. I mean, it's just incredible. And so I told her, well, you just made my day. And we had a little chat. And, I went home on a pink cloud.
There's something that because you were the role of mom on that show, you represented so much that universal theme of mother, of unconditional love. And for so many people who didn't have that, you were that person in their life. The love for you is, I think, at a particularly strong out of maybe all of the characters in the show, honestly.
Well,
there's something about the mother connection.
It's the personal nature, because Little House is a show. People take it very personally. They don't watch it on an intellectual level. They totally watch it on an emotional, visceral level. To put it mildly. They just take the whole thing in like it's real, like it's personal. So when people come up to us, they don't tend to say, oh, that was a marvelous performance. Yeah. They react like it's real, which is why I get really peculiar compliments, if you can call them that. But
yes,
for you, you're their mom. You're just their mom. They don't even make a separation.
Yeah, and it's often true. It's often true.
When we talked to Melissa Gilbert, and she's joined us on the podcast, and we've had so many conversations through the years where Melissa said to me and has said to others that when she first saw you, she thought you were the most beautiful woman in the world, the most beautiful woman she had ever seen in her life, with this sort of luminant glow around 100%. You, the way, but with her bare eyes, she looked at you and said, this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And you've always radiated on camera this sort of, it's this serenity, Earth Mother kind of peace and stability around you. And I think people and audiences for generations have seen that. It surprises me that you don't know that. I mean, in many polls through the years, you have been voted among the most beloved television mothers in the history of the media.
Yes.
Yes. I would see that from time to time in those magazines.
You just didn't believe it. You just chose not to believe it.
No, I believed it. It was just that I hadn't experienced on this person-to-person level when it's coming right at you.
Sure.
And that has been different over these last couple of years. So I'm grateful.
Sure. I think it has intensified over the last few years. I think part of that was the pandemic and all the stuff we were doing online. They felt they're still there for us. You know, there was some weird connection, and I think people went back to that. Also, everyone says you're beautiful now, and people have even asked me what was in the water on Walnut Grove that the women could look this good this many years later. Yeah. I said the bonnets.
Them it's all natural.
I said the bonnets provided sunblock. That must be it.
There you go. Okay, all those hats and bonnets.
Yeah.
Boy, that sun was intense, wasn't it?
No kidding.
I honestly, when I hear about you guys talk about it, I don't know if I could have done it. I really, and now every time I watch it, I'm like, they must have been so hot. Gosh, the scene looks like it's hot.
I'll tell you, that first week that we were out there, I thought, I don't think I'm going to make it. I thought, this is a really good break, and I don't know if I can do it. I mean, people were passing out.
Yeah, hello, me. I concur.
Didn't you faint? Didn't you faint
I was
the first
down
week?
like a sack of potatoes. I was out. It was terrible.
And so I was like, this is brutal, Yeah. And I didn't know until the end of the week that we'd been in a heat wave.
Oh, wow.
So it wasn't normal. And it wasn't likely to continue like that.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's. Okay, you're talking to Little House super fans right here. Now.
Hardcore.
And you've had a lot of time to think back, to reflect. You've written a book, and I just wanted to know do you have a big takeaway, especially now that you're learning how beloved you are really on a more personal level? Do you have a big takeaway from your Little House experience?
I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity that I had to play this part. It was not what I wanted. It was not what I would have chosen for myself. I had another career in mind altogether. But I am so grateful now because I feel like somehow I feel really kind of spiritually that I was supposed to do this.
Interesting.
And that it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And even though I, as we often do, struggle against our own destiny.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes.
There it was.
Well, I'm curious.
So
go ahead.
That's my big takeaway, that I was supposed to do that.
Karen, what was the career that you had in mind? I mean, because I think that's a really big deal. I mean, Alison was born into the industry. It's sort of you were going to.
Well, I certainly didn't expect that I would do this.
Right.
I mean, who did? And it's true. It was this thing of like, oh no, I'm going to do this other thing. Wait, I guess we're doing this. Yeah, and it's been very strange. So yeah.
But
who
Karen,
are you going to be?
Yeah. Well, so Karen, what was the career? Was it a Broadway career? Was it a London stage career? Was it a feature film career?
My goal was to do many parts in all different kinds of plays in front of audiences, both in repertory and in more commercial venues. To do at least one Shakespeare a year.
Wow.
And to constantly be stretching and changing and inhabiting new characters.
Yeah.
I was struggling,
Yeah.
Were you, while you were on contract on the show, were you able to do theater, like during your break? Were you free to do other things, or were you contractually just obligated to do the show?
Well, the break wasn't long enough to allow for the rehearsal and the performance.
Got it.
And in those days, it was very different. We did many more shows than series do now. And you had to commit for a minimum of a year, for example, on Broadway. So there were a lot of limitations on what I could do. at the same time, not to mention that I would be tired.
Right.
It was exhausting.
You needed a break.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
And did you, when did you at any, during the show realize what a success it was? I mean, I didn't know that the show.
Yeah, because I was going out to do the promotion,
So you saw it.
I was the one who went out and took the clips from the coming season and did the commercials at all the affiliates, So I would go from town to town.
Wow.
And promote us, usually in September. Mike was busy, so that job really fell to me.
Did you enjoy that? I mean, was that fun for you? I had a great time going out on the road for the show, but did you enjoy that?
I was surprised that I really did. I enjoyed meeting people. I was surprised I had a kind of gift of the gab, and it was a challenge because of the physical demands. There was no group of people supporting me, so I was doing it all. But I really got a kick out of a lot of it. And I liked going to fancy hotel rooms.
Oh, yes. I like that part.
Yeah, no, that's always fun. No question. In those days, you were always flying first class. The network would send a car to pick you up, take you to the airport. There's someone there to meet you at the other end. You're taken. Yeah, they make it very easy, relatively, when you're on that level to be out there doing what you need to do. There's no question. They do a great job with that. They did a great job with it in those days.
I think for women, it's a little more demanding because we have to do our own hair and makeup in those situations. And you have to improvise. And then, of course, I had a little drinking problem. So, that makes it more challenging when you're doing it with a hangover.
Wow. Ow. Yeah, that would do it. That would
be, ow. That had to be bright and sunny with a sparkle in your eye as the adoring mom. That could have been challenging.
And my recollection of those kind of affiliate things, I did one in Atlanta. They started very, very early in the morning.
Well, that's the Workday did, of course. I mean, very early. When you're doing those events at the end of a week, so you're going out to do that on a Saturday and a Sunday, you're doing these things, and then you're back on the stage on Monday. I mean, would have been a grueling schedule for that window of time.
Well, actually, they would send me out for about 5 different towns.
All once.
One after another, after another, after another.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, yeah, I wasn't expecting the tell on the drinking problem, but then on the other hand, it was in your book. You were very
part of the thing.
Honest about that in your book. Which, and it's funny. Of course, by the time I came on the show, I think you were getting a grip on it. By the time I came in season 6,
no, I've been sober a long time. By the time you showed up.
Okay,
gotcha. Okay, so what were those? Not to get into this too, but what were those years, season-wise, that you were really dealing with this?
1 and 2.
Okay, gotcha.
It was early in season 3 that I totally hit my bottom. I turned myself into the people who know how to stop. Whew, what a relief.
Really? I mean, you have this conscious sense that it was this enormous relief to surrender.
Oh, so huge.
Wow.
Yeah, well, if you've never been addicted to anything, it's really, the monkey on your back. You're running out of choices.
Yeah. It's funny because, Charlotte talks about that too in her book, how she'd show up every day, just hung over, she'd be in that makeup chair, just trying to get herself okay by the time, it was time to go. Did you guys know both of you were having problems this way?
That's
I
interesting.
don't want to talk about that part of my relationship with Charlotte.
Sure. No problem.
Okay.
Okay.
That's her story.
Yeah,
That's
no,
her
I get
type.
it.
So
I get
being
it.
cool-
That's understandable. Of course. Maybe we should just talk quickly, because in the second half of this conversation, we want to talk about actually some of the things we're talking about now. When you look back, Karen, because I think people who are diehard viewers of this and really love it, they always want to know what you felt about the show or the favorite moments that you had. I mean, if you can, when you look back on that time and the work that you were doing, what are if there are 2 or 3 moments that really stand out to you as being very special moments on the show, full episodes, what would those things be? What do you think about?
There are so many, I was terribly moved when we did the pilot. The story of the family, the isolation, the bravery, the challenges that they met. I became very moved by them. Mm-hmm. And so I loved all of that. I remember at the studio, Victor French and I had a scene. Somehow it was meant to be upstairs in the loft of the barn. And, I don't remember now what the scene was about. But what I remember is that our concentration was so focused, so connected, mm-hmm. which is such a special feeling with another actor,
Yeah.
And the whole crew felt it. The whole, you could just tell mm-hmm. there was this mm-hmm. atmosphere. Mm-hmm. And then it was over. Mm. And that was a very special moment. And I'm happy to have that memory of Victor. Let's see, I think I was terribly thrilled to get to do A Matter of Faith,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Chicken wire. Yes. Yes. Trauma.
That scared people to death.
I love all that Sturmend drum, I hit a lot of different notes. By the same token, I was very moved by the show where Mary is studying when she's not supposed to be, and she sets off the fire in the barn.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And as Caroline, I knew that the mother would be so terrified. At the same time, putting out the fire, and then so furious at having been so frightened. And it was hard for me. I asked the director, I don't know how many times, could I try that again? Could I try that again? And it was a blessing to get to try it again. Because I so wanted it to be right. I just knew that feeling that when you're terrified for your child, that you're just enormously angry at how vulnerable you've been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Was Bill directing that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can see that Bill. You would have the freedom to ask Bill for another one.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
What was he was loose like that?
He was more. I think he was. I think he just understood or was more empathetic with the.
He's looser.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was just so true. My Catherine loved working with Bill on Father Murphy, and Bill was just delightful, and he was just so human and authentic in the way that he dealt with people. It's nice that you had that opportunity with him, Karen, to play those moments.
Well, of course we had every other show with him, so there were lots and lots of those chances.
And for our audience who may not, we say Bill, we're referring to Bill Claxton, was one of the alternating directors with Michael. Bill Victor directed when he was there, and then there were others later. But it was
before your time.
Yes,
right?
yeah, exactly. So was it really in those early years, Karen? Was it in that early seasons? Was it really Michael, Bill, and Victor occasionally? Really, the two of them mainly, or were there others? Do you remember?
It was only Bill and Mike.
Pretty much.
And they would bring in an occasional person early on, like season 1, and that director might be very good, and us, we might like him. You notice.
Yep, it was back in the day.
But Mike would have a problem with something that they did or the way they tried to influence the actor. For example, I can give you an example.
Okay.
A director who I thought was very talented and sensitive said to me, and this is early on, "Oh, you know, this type of country woman who's very shy and not used to being in company." And I said, "Yes, but this had not been what I thought of as Caroline." You know? So I did my best to give him what he was looking for. But then later I talked to Mike and I said, "You know, Mike, I'm not sure about this." And then Corsky was on the set. "Oh, no," he said, "I love the strength. Yes. That's what I want, you know." So that director didn't come back.
Interesting. Yeah.
But that's what we loved, and I think they all loved is, yes, in the 1800s, there was an image of women as being shy and pulled aside and subservient. But Caroline wasn't. She wasn't. And that was the thing. Even in the books, she tells Charles, woman. "This is what I'm going to do, and this is what we're doing. I got to stand up for my point here." She does. She totally stands up to him. And in the show, repeatedly does. And your strength of making her not a shy, retiring, poor little country girl, but a woman who could live through a prairie fire and a tornado and a blizzard and everything else and stand by her husband and help him when he was incapacitated. I mean, that's why people liked it. If you had made her weak, people would not have latched on to Caroline Ingalls the way that they did. They just would not have.
You know, that's what those women were. They were so unbelievably strong.
They had to be. They wouldn't have survived.
The story goes that if a man's wife died out there in the prairie, you know, in the hinterlands, right away he sent for a mail order bride. He needed help.
It's true.
But if the husband died, the woman rarely tried to get another husband. Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
Well, there were ways in which I wanted to bring more of that to the fore, and it was a process over all those years, 8 years that I did the show, of trying to influence the writers, the director, the moments, to bring more of that forward. Because, you know, when we started, it was all guys. They were all from Bonanza, Westerns. Their idea of a woman's role was archetypally sweet, you know, and I wanted to show more of the tension that I had seen in my own mother trying to get it all together and get it done and take care of everybody.
Interesting, Karen. Interesting. I mean, that would have been a lifetime challenge with our little group that was pretty locked in on what they were committed to doing.
But we moved.
Yes.
We moved from the beginning to where we were later. And then Melissa and I had that scene in, was it The Last Farewell? Where she says to me, I think, well, they couldn't have done it without us.
Yeah.
You know, so that we had come a long way from the beginning.
And this was a big deal in TV in the 70s. I mean, we just moved from like Marlo Thomas's That Girl was considered like forward thinking. We were just getting the Mary Tyler Moores and the Rhodas. We just stopped having all this very, you know, Donna Reed, Leave It to Beaver type of setting. And women were starting to be Mary Tyler Moore and That Girl and doing and it was a big deal. And we started in 74. When you go look at it, well, what women were doing, the characters in television just 74 compared to now, to absolutely to on a Pioneer show say, no, I'd like to make the female character strong. That was a big honking deal in 1974.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have to take a very short break, but we will be back with Karen Grassley.
When you visit Simi Valley, California, you're stepping into the pages of history. Go from the pioneers to the presidents. Explore beautiful wildflowers, hike through iconic Hollywood locations, and end your day aboard the actual Air Force One at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. Throughout the summer, take the Little House 50th Anniversary Tour at Big Sky Movie Ranch. Less than 15 minutes from Los Angeles and 30 minutes from Universal Studios, Simi Valley has small-town charm with big-time history. Go to visitsimiValley.com for more information. We are so grateful to visitsimiValley.com for their commitment to presenting the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
And we're back, poof, with Karen Grassley, our beloved sweet Caroline on Little House on the Prairie. Allison,
well,
do you want to ask her something?
I do.
Next?
Now, as you know, I grew up right smack in Hollywood, in a Hollywood family, like jaded child of the industry by 7. And my SAG card member since 1967. It's like ridiculous. And I grew up in that. And, you know, hit the ground running. You came into television as an actual grown person with a history and a life and a theater background and training and all of this. And also thinking about, as I said, who were you planning on being if it hadn't been for Little House? I was 12. I had not worked out totally who I was yet. So it's a very weird, different thing. I had come in going, well, of course I'm going to act. Everyone I know is an actor. My family's an actor. But like, how did you decide? Because you consciously chose to become an actor and come to Hollywood and do all this. What led you to do that?
I feel I was chosen, Allison. It felt like I had no choice.
Real? Wow. I mean, you had no choice but to be an actor.
Had to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I think that's really interesting.
That's
so
awesome.
what is that inner dialogue that's telling you, I have no choice, I have to do this? What is that?
I had been performing since I was a kid, you know, whether it was Sunday school, school plays. I was in dancing lessons, and we had a big show every year, and our teacher took us out, had us perform in other venues. So I had been a performer, and my parents were absolutely terrified that I was going to go that direction.
Wow.
And it was very, very clear to me that what I was supposed to do was to go to college and get a good, safe, solid job, like be a school teacher. Then you always have a job. And as you may remember, there were not that many jobs open to women in those days. You know, there were many fewer professional women. So when I said to my social studies teacher, well, what does a lawyer do? He said, oh, don't be a lawyer, marry a lawyer.
Oh,
wow. Isn't that interesting?
That's how it was.
Yeah, sure.
And he had my best interest at heart.
Sure.
Of course.
Sure. Okay, so you go from lawyer, how does actor fit in? Okay, come to actor.
Okay, so then I go to Berkeley, and I do my best to not try out for a play.
Oh.
And finally, I give in, and I get the female lead, and we start rehearsal, and I am home. And we go into that technical rehearsal, and I'm sitting on that stage while they're fooling with the lights. It used to be very complicated.
Sure.
And I thought, this is home. I feel so comfortable here. And I was surprised to find that I knew things, how to rehearse, how to try things, and and I could learn dialogue like it was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was just instant. As soon as I got my blocking, then I knew it. So my being, you know, was home.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's when you know you know it. Did you see television as part of it, or you were going to stick with theater? How did you?
Well, in those days, television didn't have any status like it does
Sure.
now.
Oh,
No,
it
it's
was like
true.
it was the internet. It was like it's like a.
It was, but I'm curious,
Well-
Karen, if you're going to movies, you're going to the theater. We all have those
I
people
was
who
in
are.
Berkeley.
Okay.
I was in Berkeley, and we were going to the Cinema Guild.
Yeah.
We were going to see foreign movies. The weekends, Pauline Kael was writing the blurbs for our local movie theater. That's where I come from.
Sure.
And I took off after my sophomore year and joined this fantastic theater in San Francisco, which unfortunately Dean had gone by the time you came along.
Mm-hmm.
But the people that I met there were dedicated artists, and we did everything from the classics to the latest play that had never been done in the United States before.
Wow.
And I was just like, this is it, you know. And I wanted to learn more and do more and be a part of that.
Were there actors that the audience? I mean, you obviously worked with many wonderful actors who may or may not be known to the audience. But if you were to look at sort of archetypally at yourself and look at other actors, were there actors that you looked at and said, "I can do that. I can step in. Those are my parts." If you viewed it that way, were there those actors, and if so, who were they?
I don't know about that. I know that there were actors that I idolized, that I was in awe of, that I watched very closely.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure about what you're asking.
Well, I
don't think I understood.
Yeah.
I don't think I understood what I looked like or what my type was.
Got it. Wow. Oh, that's interesting.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I approached our director over there when he announced the Glass Menagerie, which today our audience might not know, but I wanted to play Laura, and I knew from photographs of the original production that I looked similar to the young woman who had played it in New York. And he just said, out of hand, "You can't play Laura, you're too pretty."
Oh, interesting. Oh, wow.
Too pretty for wow.
And then he told
That's
me
weird.
Then he told me who was going to play it, which was another member of our apprentice company. And she was brilliant. She had something for Laura that I didn't have. So, you know, it's been a mystery sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, what I really didn't know was how I could do all these high-class, sophisticated women. Because where I came from, you weren't supposed to do that.
Really? Why not?
So I didn't know that I was going to be playing high class, British, French,
Elegant. Yeah.
elegant women and know what to do.
Interesting.
So I had to discover them.
You know, when I was looking at when I was sort of coming to that in my life, I was just looking for people that I sort of could identify with. So as so many young guys of my age, you know, I'm looking at Robert Redford on the screen and thinking, well, I can do that.
I could be Robert Redford.
Yeah, I can do that. So, but it was just because of a type and a look that felt like, you know, the hair, and I sort of was just sort of blown away by his whole studied casual vibe that he had, and he just was magnetic to watch on the screen, and that was sort of he became an aspirational figure to me, you know, at that time in my life, and
my aspirational figures were people like Helen Hayes.
Oh, wow.
What a great aspirational figure to have. Yeah. Yeah. She was awesome.
Uta Hagen.
Oh, Uta Hagen. Well, and her great book too, Respect for Acting, which was, it was introduced to me as being the actor's Bible.
Well,
Respect
we all
for
were
Acting.
introduced to that as the actor's Bible. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, not a bad career, that Uta Hagen.
Yeah.
She did okay.
I think we should move on to. Our time is
we're
just
running out of
evaporating
time.
on us. We need to talk about Karen's. We need to talk about the book.
We have to talk about
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about the book.
You know, I loved your book, Karen. Especially, listen, if you're a theater nerd like I am, you're going to devour your whole Broadway theater and training experience. But you know, it's a very vulnerable book, and you talked a lot about very personal things, and it is also very clear that you were very different than Ma. You know, speaking of playing things that you necessarily weren't in real life.
Yeah.
So tell us, what ways were you different, and what ways do you think you were similar to her?
The differences were so apparent that I could hardly think about them. I was single. I was graduate of Berkeley. I had been in the free speech movement. I was, did I say feminist?
Yeah.
We all knew. Yeah.
You know, I believed in free love, if you will. I was on the pill as soon as I could.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, you can't imagine what it was like before the pill.
It was terrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
The stress, you know, Jesus. So,
Dude, it's true.
so there were all these trappings of modern life that made me different in culturally, you know. But I had been a religious child. I did have some kernel of that still within me. I was attempting to live an honest life. I wanted to be part of the solution, you know. I was not part of the solution because in my immaturity, there were so many things I didn't understand about human beings and how we are with each other. So everything has been a learning process for me. And I'm happy to say it's still going on.
Yeah.
You know, I feel I'm not through growing yet.
When you wrote your book, I mean, you held nothing back. It was absolutely raw and real. And you didn't say, well, I'm going to give a sanitized version of what people think I should write. You wrote the truth. But who would you say you were writing it for? I mean, because you wrote very real. Who did you feel like was like the person you were talking to? Because I wrote my book. I'm talking to someone. Who am I talking to? Who am I telling the story to? Who were you telling this to?
I think I was writing for other young women.
Okay. Yeah.
I thought maybe my experience would be not just educational, but redemptive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And then for anyone from an alcoholic home,
True.
I thought, it might be helpful.
Was it helpful for you too, getting it out there, putting it on paper?
Fantastic experience. It only took me 10 years.
Wow.
I know the
Yeah.
I know.
So it was fantastic on all these different levels.
Yeah.
It was fantastically healing
Yeah.
because I revisited portions of my life.
Yeah.
It was fantastically educational because I learned so much about writing and about other writers that I liked and about what the form of memoir is. And, I leapt into this and it kept me off the streets. When I didn't have a play or an indie film,
Yeah.
I had this work to do, which I always need some kind of project.
Yeah.
It's just my nature.
Too.
Oh, yeah. I'm identifying heavily with this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Guilty.
Karen I know that Catherine and I read your book out loud at home. We sat at the dining room table at night and we traded off chapters as we read it out loud to each other. And
Dean, that's so sweet.
well, we read a lot out loud to each other. I think I absorb
good for
much better as I listen than as I more better than I do when I'm actually reading words off the page. The authenticity.
I love that. I love that you're a couple who reads to each other at night. That is so great.
Well, we've enjoyed it through the years too. But I think I was just blown away, one, by the honesty of what you wrote and how you just laid out there the story that you wanted to tell. And I was just astonished by the detail of places, people, events. And I just was wondering, Catherine and I were wondering out loud as we were reading, are you pulling from a journal? Did you keep a journal through the years? Because if you didn't, to go back and mine this detail from your memories would have been an extraordinary thing to do.
Well, both.
Okay.
I didn't always consistently keep a journal, but I did keep a journal. And I did a lot of psychotherapy. So in psychotherapy, you do a lot of reporting and analyzing your experience. So it makes it more clear. So, and then I have this memory, people hate because when they have an argument with me, I say, no, you were wearing your burgundy shirt.
Oh, no.
We were at Central Park and you said,
Wow.
Oh, well, you're just dead. Don't try it with her.
Yeah. Don't write, buddy.
but be glad because, it's slipped a lot. And I'm much less of a pain in the neck now.
What's been the reaction to your book? What kind of reactions do you get from readers? I mean, I love that you're reading. You know that reading out loud is really good for you, right? It's good for your health and your brain. It's good. What kind of reactions do you get?
Well, you did it during the pandemic, Alison, so you managed to stay very healthy.
Right, and I did it because the doctor I was reading and went, oh, they say this is good for you. Maybe I should do it.
Well, you did it a ton. But yeah, I think I love Alison's question. What kind of reaction have you gotten from this? Because you clearly did not look. So many of us who have written these books. I mean, here you call your book "Bright Lights, Prairie Dust," but I don't know that you were writing this book for Little House fans.
I was not
I don't
writing
think
it
so.
for Little House fans.
Right. So
And I think that's one reason that I didn't get a mainline publisher because I did not write it for Little House fans. And what some publishers were looking for was something closer to, sweetness and light from the prairie.
Oops.
I
Oops,
just
not.
didn't have that to offer,
No.
yeah.
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 And you were asking about the response.
Yeah, so that exactly. So with that in mind, knowing that Little House fans were seeing this title and seeing that picture on the cover, they were going to go out and buy this book. So what has been the reaction?
Good for their blood circulation, I say. It could get them going.
Yeah. So,
well, I've been very relieved to discover that they are very moved by the story. And many, many people come up to me and sort of say privately, thank you for your honesty.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that when that happens, that I have done something positive.
Oh, I think our Little House fans are way smarter than many people think, and have, with all of our books, kind of gotten it. They didn't just write things off as, aren't you from the show? I think they do get it.
And
but I also think that it changes your perception of your work on the show. That after reading your book, then when I revisit the show and see your performance, it's even more elevated than what it was before, knowing sort of what you were working with and again. So
I agree with
bravo
that
to you.
Completely.
Should we do a couple of
I think we should. We need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask listeners some questions. I'm going to ask you a couple. Here we go. L Lint 3 asks, first she says, I saw Miss Grassley a couple years ago in Ontario, Canada, in a live theater production of On Golden Pond. Wonderful.
Great part for you.
Yeah. Does preparation for live theater differ from television?
Yes. Once the curtain goes up, if you will, there's no one to save you. So there's no retake.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, can I try that again? Right. No. This is it. And the preparation, therefore, has to be much, it has to be set physically so that your other actors know where you're going to be and have some idea of how you're going to do it. Because if they don't know how you're going to do it, how can they rehearse their part?
Right.
So, I love rehearsal. I love it. In that particular case, we didn't have a lot of time. We jumped in and we just threw ourselves into it. And it was a cast that I really loved, every person. And we were very rewarded when we met our audience. It was really a great experience.
Nice.
Oh, that's lovely.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Another one from Eleonora Pazzer. These tag names, I'm telling you. Sorry if I mispronounced it. Okay. They said, you have already said you don't have a favorite Ingalls child, but I would like to know about you and Melissa Gilbert. You really look like mother and daughter in the show, and your relationship developed as she grew up. Was it just very good acting, or you really cared for each other? Do you still keep in touch?
Oh, that's so sweet. Of course I cared for her. I loved all of those kids, and each one was so different than the others, you know. I had a very soft spot for Melissa, and as she was becoming a teenager, my motherly concern for her grew even more, because, you know, it was Hollywood. There were a lot of older guys and Bunny and stuff like that. And I was feeling very protective. And yet I had no power to do anything about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was an interesting line I had to walk.
Yeah. All right. One last question. And I'm going to ask this one because you talked about this with us. Abby Gross says, Based upon what Karen shared in her book, she struggled with alcohol and addiction herself, as well as watched her father battle with it. Does she have any advice or wise words for the family members and friends of individuals struggling with alcoholism or addiction of any kind? And then she says, her honesty and openness within her book was truly beautiful, and I thank her from the bottom of my heart for her willingness to share.
Well, thank you, Abby. Yes, I have a very, very good idea for anyone who has a friend or family member who is struggling with addiction, and that is the Al-Anon program.
Amen.
ALANON. I was in a meeting last night, and the reason I was that, issues come up in life. Doesn't matter how much work you've done.
Yeah.
Issues come up. Relationships become challenging. And I said, I've got to get back into those Al-Anon meetings where the people share on the level that I need to hear and know the solutions to these kinds of issues. And for me, Al-Anon is, it's one thing to talk about giving up an addiction. That's one disease. But the person who suffers alongside the addict or alcoholic also suffers from a disease of codependence, of Al-Anonism. And Al-Anon is the answer.
That's great,
Brilliant.
Karen.
Amen.
Thank you.
That's great.
Karen, we can't thank you enough for coming on the pod. This has been really incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything.
Oh, thank you. It was so fun to be with all of you.
Good. Well,
I didn't
I'm
get
sort
to
of
make,
like, how do I end it on that note? That was just so beautiful what you just
I don't
shared.
think I got to make my plug for Dean's book, did I?
Oh,
No, I think you've done a splendid job, Karen, and thank you. And I hope you'll stay with us for those of you listening. You'll stay with us for a quick Patreon peep moment, which we'll get to as soon as we say.
Get Dean's book.
Thank you, Karen.
He's
Thank
such a
you.
sweetheart.
Thank you. That's very sweet of you.
Mom's
Pamela.
bragging about you. All right, everybody. That's it for today. Please join us on our socials, Little House 50 Podcast, littlehouse50podcast.com, and join us on Patreon. We have lots of extra bonus stuff for you. That's super fun. It's Bob's birthday, by the way.
Yes.
Yay, Bob.
Does Bob have to get the wig on his birthday? He likes it.
He sure does.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very
still.
good.
Bob, go get the wig. Let's
Get the
fly,
wig.
people. Freeze it. Freeze.